Hello everyone and welcome back to Our Life Beginnings and Always. We're moving into the final arc 3 of 3, which is very exciting. It's been a little while since our last episode. I was planning to just continue on with it, but then Inscription came out and I was very, very excited by it, and I thought I just gotta play it right now. So I thought it's okay if this one sits to the side for a little bit because I knew I was going to be coming back to it. And here we are. So we're continuing on from here, and I believe we just continue. And yes, we just finished the road trip one last time, which means we're going to be, in this episode, going on and finishing off the summer, finishing off step 2, and moving on to the new one. Which is very exciting, and I don't want to wait any longer, so let's go for it. Let's do it. Okay. There was no denying it. Today was the very last day of summer. Tomorrow you were heading to class. That is the worst feeling. I hate that. Oh, it's a bit of a bummer. But we're living a positive lifestyle. We're living our happy-go-lucky dreams in this one, so we're excited to go back. I do enjoy uni at least, so I'm always excited to go back to uni. Though summer had been fun, you had taken your fill, and now you were longing for fresh excitement. A new school year was full of potential. Absolutely. You got dressed, not envisaging the day before you, but contemplating what lay ahead of you tomorrow. Life was sure going to be different. You had come to think of the summer vacation as the norm, but school stretched out for the majority of the year, whereas the summer vacation was just a break in the middle. So, rather than it be different, it was kind of a return to the normal. What did your normal life really mean? You considered how fondly your mums talked about their summer vacations as kids. You dimly recognized that one year the pattern of school and summer itself would be over for good. It was hard to imagine. I mean, yeah, it's a long period of your life. It's, about 13 years, roughly? Yeah, I mean, it's a big lifestyle to settle into, and a very big change to get out of. You'd gotten distracted, one arm still out of a sleeve. You pulled it through and put your mind back to the present. This season had brought about plenty of changes of its own, like Kira's visit, though that too was coming to an end today. Oh. You're happy you'd finally gotten a chance to know her, you'd become extremely fond of her, you didn't really like her, your mind wasn't made up how you felt about her, you didn't care either way. I think she's nice. I think it's nice we finally got to meet her. She was interesting to be around. You liked how easy it was to talk to her. You finished dressing, which was good. Cove would be there any moment. You'd agreed to see his mum off together. Oh, that's nice. Officially, the plan was that he would come over to bring you round to his house when she was ready to set off, but you both knew that you'd be hanging out for at least a little while beforehand. Kira's visit had troubled Cove when it first happened. It had been a sudden change, thanks to Mr. Holden's infamous tendency to surprise people, but once he was able to adjust, he'd been in pretty good spirits with her around. It was a relief for everyone. The next thought that crossed your mind was, it would be only polite to get the door for Cove. You went downstairs to wait. You couldn't wait to see Cove, so you went downstairs to meet him when he arrived. Cove knew your house well enough. You could lounge in your room to wait for him. I think let's go downstairs to meet him when he arrives. You bounded down the stairs, your hand gliding over the rail. You wanted to make sure you got there first. If you didn't hurry, your mums might answer it. It was only a few minutes later when the doorbell rang. As you'd chosen to stand beside it to wait for Cove, there was no delay in pulling it open. Hey, but you always just look so tired. Cove was there, just as you'd expected. Seeing you, he smiled quietly. Hey. Hi, Cove. Come on in. Once he'd stepped inside, you beckoned for him to follow you upstairs. Back up in your room, you sat down on your bed and waited for Cove to settle in as you knew he would. With other guests, you might have offered them a seat, but you and Cove were long past those tentative stages of friendship. Your room was as familiar to him as his own. Oh. Hey bud, how's it going? You watched as Cove sat down in your desk chair, his preferred spot. He rolled it closer to the bed to make it easier to chat, tweaking the angle so that he was facing you fully. Once happy with the position, he leaned in towards you, hands held in his lap. His actions weren't the ones of someone who planned on moving from his spot anytime soon, even though you had an appointment to keep together that day. Oh, when is your mom leaving? We've got some time. She's still got a shower and stuff before she goes. She didn't want me to just keep hanging around while she was doing that. He lifted his head, his gaze drifting out through the window, and chuckled. I can't believe she's already leaving, just when I'm getting used to her being there every day. He leaned back in his chair, a wry smile tickling his cheeks. Well, I don't know if she'll be back, so I can't say that. I think just a yeah will suffice. He shook his head, as if shaking off the topic like a dog whipping off water following a dip in the sea. The conversation lapsed into another comfortable lull. Cove swung his feet underneath the seat of the chair, eyes resting on you. Having him over here was so nice. No matter how you spent the time, you always felt better for being in his company. Oh, this is so sweet. I always forget how sweet it is. You couldn't help but adore him, both as a friend and in a way that plucked at your heart, a vague yearning for more. Oh. Maybe it was because summer was almost over that your feelings were rushing in on you now, like high tide at the end of a long day. Summer was such a meaningful time for the two of you, of course. Not only because it was when you first met, but because it was a season that you could spend almost entirely as you pleased, and you both chose to spend it together. Okay. You wanted to let Cove know how much you liked him. You didn't know completely what you felt. You were too scared to let him know. You weren't ready to admit it to Cove now. I feel like, because we're ending up this chapter here, and I know moving into the next one, because of how the system works, that we'll be selecting probably love, like instead of just like a crush or friendship. I think letting him know now is a good time for it, especially after like last episode. I'm gonna save. I shouldn't save because then that gives me space to go back and retcon what I choose. But anyway, I'm gonna do it. He wanted to let Cove know how much you liked him. Now is the time. You couldn't go another day without expressing these feelings you had. I don't want to do this one because I always want to ask first. But I feel like there's time for this later down the road, but actually expressing what you feel is more important. So I'm gonna go with, you spoke words of affection. It was the best. It is. He's a dumbass. It was best to be direct with Cove. He didn't want to leave room for ambiguity and misunderstanding at such an important moment. Absolutely, I completely agree. Cove was your friend. You had always been friends. It meant a lot to you, but you knew deep down that wasn't really all he was. Not anymore. You had to let him know too. You had to let him know. You looked directly at him. Cove? He had already been watching you, but he lifted his head attentively at the call. Your cheeks were as hot as if you were standing in the midday sun. Cove raised an eyebrow. Your heart raced. The sound rang in your ears, shutting out everything else. Okay, even though we know this is very true, I can't just go out with that assumption. That needs to be this. He needs to take that step as well. Okay, I can't force that out of him. I know you're crushing on me, and I feel the same about you. I like you, Cove. I really, really like you. I have a crush on you. You're pretty and wonderful and the best person I know. I like you so much. It was just too difficult to get the words out, no matter how much you wanted to. I really want to, and I'm gonna do it. Okay, yeah, because the whole reason we're saying the words is because we don't want to be ambiguous. Because, like, you're pretty and wonderful and the best person I know, I like you so much is great, but can also be interpreted platonically, as is, I really, really like you. So I think we just have to kind of be blunt and tell him this one. okay, let's do it. I have a crush on you. Okay. Cove froze in his seat, the only motion coming from his widening eyes. Oh, buddy, did you not see this come? Of course he didn't. He's a dumbass. With a jolt, he realized that was literally the only thing he was doing. He hadn't taken a single breath since you uttered the words. Cove, you need to breathe. Breathe. Cove might have envied fish with their gills, but he wasn't a fish. He was a boy on land and he needed air to live. You really hoped he would remember this soon before you needed to call your moms in and explain the situation. Hey bud. Okay, thank you. Opening the mouth is the first step, okay? Cove still had no response. You were starting to clamber off the bed towards him when finally he sucked in a deep breath. Okay. His voice cracked on the second syllable, the word at odds with his nervous appearance. His eyes were darting around, unsure of where to place them. I don't know what to do now. I think you don't have to do anything. I just wanted you to know that. You can tell me how you feel when you're ready. Hey? This is just, it's fine. You don't have to do anything. Your announcement hadn't been a command, though you worried that Cove seemed to have taken it as one. Cove tensed, his breathing short and quick. His hands were gripping his knees tightly, like a bird's claws around a branch in a gale, desperately clinging onto safety and stability. Thank you for that before, You couldn't help but crack a smile at his sudden formalness. He could tell it was ridiculous too. Sorry for being weird. It's just, I kind of thought or hoped that sometime something like this might happen with us talking about liking each other. Yes. Okay. Like we all knew it, but he did just kind of say it, okay? Okay? You did? You were thinking about it before? He nodded ever so slightly. Your face felt a lot hotter after that. Cove brightened a little at your positive reaction, and his explanation continued. I could sort of picture how it might go, what it'd be like with you and me. But just the first part, I could never imagine anything that had come after, and now it's actually happened. We're there. He took another deep breath, stuttering on the exhale. This makes things different. Good different or bad different? Oh, I mean, things don't have to be different, but you kind of want them to be a little different. I pretty much imagined you'd react like that. That's a bit dismissive. This is hard for me. Yeah, it's hard for me too. Should we find a crystal ball for answers? I think things don't have to be different. He gave you a 1. Is that... 1. Of a person's complexion or appearance, pale and giving the impression of illness or exhaustion. Or of a smile, lacking enthusiasm or energy. Great. Thanks, but I don't think that'll work. I can't just forget. I definitely can't. That's not what I meant. I meant we can still, have this positive relation. Anyway. His breathing started to level out once again, slowly to a usual steady rhythm. He closed his eyes, drawing himself up as he inhaled deeply. Each word he spoke next was delicate. Yay! Yay! We did it! Hey guys! Hey! We did it! I'm proud of you. We did it. High five. High fives in chat. Hugs in chat, please. Pass it on. The hugs are coming around. Take one and pass them along. Well done. Congratulatory hugs. We did it. Patch, I like you too. A lot. Probably way too much. Aww. He ducked his head bashfully and opened an eye, peeking at you through the hair that had fallen over his face like a veil. He'd managed to smile. Oh, yay, that's so cute. Oh, buddy. Look at your face. You dumbass. I love you. What a guy. Thanks for waiting for me. Oh, it's okay, buddy. His eyes sparkled just looking at you, his affection transparently clear. He never could hide what he was feeling, and you couldn't be more grateful for that today. I want to hug him. I think that's nice. You got up, closing the short distance between you and Cove and wrapping your arms around him. Startled, Cove flinched, just as the groaning chair rolled back across the floor. He looked down to meet your eyes and giggled nervously. The result of your impulsive action was that Cove was confined to the computer chair. Despite that, he did his best to wind his arms around you in return. It was a little awkward, but even with the benefit of hindsight, you wouldn't have changed a thing. The strength of your feelings had demanded immediate action. It felt so nice to hold each other that way, now that everything was out in the open. That's so nice. That was nice. Ugh, yeah, okay, I'm happy. Finally, you let one another go. As you straightened up, Cove rose and stood opposite you. Cove then pressed a hand to his creased forehead. I mean, maybe. Does this mean I'm your boyfriend or something now? Should we tell our parents? I don't know what Dad or Mom would do. There were a lot of concerns in there. You honed in on the simplest. There was no way your moms would let you have a boyfriend, even though that word juxtaposed with Cove's name made your heart race. Aw. Come on, mums. Come on. My parents won't let me have a boyfriend, or even a something. Yeah, but it's Cove. Like, they know what's going on. They're not stupid. I think they'd be fine with it, bud. It doesn't matter though, we like each other and that's what's important. Yeah, and when you're old, you can let things, let things just work out naturally, and that's okay. It's all fine. It doesn't matter though, we like each other and that's what's important. Nothing anybody else thought about your relationship changed what it was between the two of you. Cove lifted his hand from his chest and reached towards you, halting halfway, then slowly, cautiously, hooked his fingers around yours, his palm pressed against the back of your hand. You let him hold your hand, or you held his hand back? Wait, just phrasing-wise, does this mean I am reciprocating the hand holding, or am I pushing his hand back? Because I'm not sure, so I'm going to save it just in case I royally mess up. You held his hand back. You rotated your hand so that you were palm to palm with Cove. Thank goodness, because yikes. After all that, I'm just no. Actually, you know what? I've changed my mind. You rotated your hand so that you're palm to palm with Cove, your thumbs crossing one another. Oh, I got an achievement budding relationship. Oh, so cute. We can get it to work. We always figure things out sooner or later. Yeah, you're right. No matter what, it's okay in the end when it's the two of us. Oh, this is so... Oh my god, I'm sorry I keep pausing every 2 panels, but I just have to. I just can't take it, okay? Your forthright statement made Cove gasp, but the smile that followed and his tighter grip on your hand told you that he had appreciated it. Great, here we go. Patch! Cove! The sudden call from downstairs caught you both unaware. You'd nearly forgotten the world outside of your room. From the guilty look on his face, Cove had done the same. Just had a call. Cove's mom is ready to go. If you're quick, she might keep that mandated motherly smothering to a minimum. Oh, yes, of course. You doubted that, but it was nice that Mom and Miss Priest had their strange sense of humor in common. Your eyes met Cove's. Wordlessly, you headed downstairs together. Are you still holding hands? Each step on the way there was painfully slow, like he was trying to delay the inevitable. His whole body tensed, leaving the house, and Cove froze altogether before you could cross the street. The doors opened. Dad must be taking her stuff out. He swallowed hard. She's really gonna leave. You smiled at him reassuringly. You gave his bat a pack. You rested a hand on his arm. Yeah, he knows that, but in the moment it's still tough. I'll give him a reassuring smile. You weren't sure what to say or how else to react other than being there to support him. Yeah. Cove's bottom lip quivered and he turned away. Hey, it's okay, buddy. It's sad. Thanks. At that, some of the conflict warring on his face eased a bit. Together, you went across the street and inside his house, finding his parents in the living room surrounded by his mom's packed things. Hey dude, still got radical hair. Hey kids. Good timing, I just called the taxi. And hi Patch, I'm so glad I get to see you today. It was fabulous getting to know you this summer. I finally got to put a face to the name I've heard so many times. Yeah, I think you're gonna be hearing it a bit more, too. Haha. Hey, she winked and Cove pouted on cue over the teasing. I'm really happy I got to meet you too. I hope you had a good time. Bye! You didn't say anything. I'm really glad I got to meet you too. Hopefully it won't be too long before we see each other again. Yeah, that'll be nice. Nodding, Kira turned her attention back to her boys. She patted Cliff on the arm with a warm smile, and then she enveloped Cove in a crushing hug. Initially, Cove squirmed to break free of her grip, but his mom was unfazed and kept him locked in place. Heartbeats later, he gave in and hugged her back tightly. I'm so happy to see this trip was a success. Cliff looked like he was bursting with pride. And then Cove stiffened. Kira loosened her hold on him enough to study his face, concerned. She spoke her next words in a whisper that had been meant for just her son. Oh, what is this? Do you want to unshelve it? Unshelve what? Raising an eyebrow, Cliff watched them carefully. His smile began to falter. What's wrong? Cove's gaze moved to the floor. He looked like he was grappling with where to begin, but then Cliff smacked a hand to his own cheek. What is going on? The noise caught everyone's attention. Cliff's eyes were wide, and you could clearly see the light bulb moment he was experiencing on his face. What? I'm confused. I'm so confused. What? It shouldn't have been a surprise. I went behind your back again. Wait, did I miss something? I'm so happy this trip was a success. Yeah, I'm confused. Yeah. What is this just now coming out that you're like disappointed that he surprised you? What is happening? What, just that the trip? I'm so confused. And it only took me until the very last moment to realize it. Crossing his arms, Cliff laughed at himself. You could tell it was out of frustration and disbelief rather than the usual good-natured feelings. What, just the trip? Is this it? Is it just the trip? But she's been here for months. How has this not come off sooner? I'm so sorry. I thought I'd gotten better at this. You have. Cove's voice was small, but it was enough to break through his dad's thoughts. Cliff's mouth pulled into a small smile. It's been a long time since something like this has happened. It's been a long time since something like this has happened. Not long enough. You deserve better than a blockhead falling back into old habits just because things seem to be going good. It won't keep happening. I promise. I'll work on it. We can all work on it. I can try harder myself to be in the loop on what's actually happening over here. A happy smile quickly spread across Cove's face, and he answered delicately. Okay, this conversation feel like it came up a little randomly, but alright, they're nice family bonding or something. You felt relieved seeing how much the whole family had grown together since you first met them. They could talk to each other more easily. After that, it wasn't long before the taxi arrived, rolling up in front of the house and in clear view of the open door. Kira stood up, smiling sadly. Well, that's my ride. Yeah. The matching reply got a chuckle out of Kira as you all filed out of the house. Father and son went with Kira's bags in hand. Once outside, you spotted your family waiting by the street, and to your surprise, Derek was also with them. Derek, who has almost had no appearances in this act. He stood uncomfortably and he waved as soon as you noticed him. Hey, bud. I've completely forgotten your voice. Hey, Patch. Hi, Cove. Something like that. When did you get here? Yeah, you've been missing for a few chapters. My dad just dropped me off a little bit ago. Thought I could visit one more time before school started. Yeah, nice. You picked a busy time. Sorry. Derek couldn't even look at Cove. He nervously kept rolling a pebble with the bottom of his shoe. I wasn't even thinking that your mom would be leaving today. I'm sorry, dude. Yeah, and that rude kid at the beginning also never came back. Okay, maybe he's in DLC or something. What? You're not interrupting anything. You're always welcome here. It would have been sad if I didn't get to say goodbye before leaving. Derek came to hang out often, so it was inevitable that the two had met at some point this season. I think so too. It was apparent Derek would have preferred to have gotten there at a more opportune moment. He never liked seeming impolite, but their reassuring words soothed his worries. The tension he was holding in his body lessened, and he looked like he was feeling much more like himself. Bye, Derek. It was fun getting to know you. Bye, ma'am. Is there anything I can do to help? Nah, don't worry yourself over that. We're just about set. In that short amount of time, Cliff had gathered and packed the bags into the trunk. Kira took one last look at everyone and sighed. All right, I don't want to keep the driver waiting. It's time to head out. The little crowd that had formed around started their chorus of farewells and well wishes traveling, but Kira still made no move to get into the taxi. She placed her attention on Cove. I'll call when I get to the airport and when I make it to Nevada. Also, you better call the moment you walk in the door at home. Otherwise we'll be wondering all night if you got into trouble on the way there. I can do that. And could you call tomorrow too? So I can tell you how school went? Of course, I want to hear all about it. Oh, this is nice. Kira put a hand on Cove's head and affectionately ruffled his hair one last time. She then let go, only to move on to squeezing his cheeks in her hands instead. Mom. Yeah, not in front of my new partner, Mom. Not in front of my date mate. I love you so much, baby. Oh. She was chuckling by the time she freed him and rounded things off with a small tap on the tip of his nose. Cove rubbed at his face with a grin. Finally, she walked to the car while waving and took her seat in the taxi. Cliff hooked an arm around Cove's shoulder and kept him close as it began to pull away. For a moment, Cove looked up at his dad and then wrapped an arm across his back. Bye, Mom. Bye! Travel safe! Kira rolled down the window and stuck her head out of it. She waved again while blowing kisses at Cove and Cliff. See you again! Before she was out of sight, you decided to... Yeah, we'll call out. Bye. As you added your voice to the others, you watched Kira's smile grow larger. The cab turned down another road and completely disappeared from view. Cove let go of his dad and took a few steps out into the empty street, still looking in the direction his mum went. He smiled quietly, deep in thought. You got the impression Cove was feeling better than he was earlier. He was finally content with the way things were. You jumped a bit when your mom put a hand on your shoulder, pulling you away from your thoughts. She smiled when you looked at her. This was a great vacation, huh? Yeah. That's what I was hoping to hear. Cove walked back over to the group, still genuinely happy. Derek grinned at him welcomingly, and everyone else there smiled at him, even Elizabeth, who didn't exist until I said that sentence. Well, Ma clapped her hands together, bringing everyone's attention back to the present. It's almost lunchtime. I think I'll put something special together. Her eyes sparkled with a plan, and Mum smiled. I bet you could use some help with that. That'd be absolutely wonderful. Derek glanced between the two, his eyebrows furrowed. You're invited, yeah. Is there something I could do? Your mums exchanged a fond expression. Ma shook her head. That's very sweet, Derek, but we hate you. Get out of here. That's very sweet, Derek, but it's alright. It's not your job. Technically, your dad left you under Cliff's watch. You're meant to be taken care of by him, not doing chores for the neighbors. Mum laughed a little over her own joke. You watched Derek look away, discouraged. Hey, he wants to let the boy help. It's okay. I don't mind. He was a little bashful about it. You wondered if Mum's joke had just reminded him that he wasn't initially meant to be invited to lunch. It was getting a little awkward. Mum grinned sympathetically. Her comment was meant to lighten the mood, not bring it back down. Ma tried again to get things moving forward. Why don't you kids go have fun? Well, you can all come back in about an hour. We'll make enough for everyone. Damn, I miss those days. When someone just cooked for me. I could just... I've commented about this in the past, but like, damn, I think that's the main thing I miss from being a kid. Just that someone just gives you the food. It's just there. You don't need to worry about it before or after. It just happens. Mum nodded in agreement. Another stunning idea, Lani. Why does... What? Oh, wait, no. I thought Cove was being like, you're welcome. I know it was a good idea. Shut up, Cove. Thanks. Yeah, thank you. That sounds like a plan, then. I don't want to cramp your style. I've got some stuff to work on, so I can be out of your hair this afternoon. You should come by later, too. No reason you should be the odd man out. Mum seemed amused as Cliff rubbed his neck nervously. He grinned a wavering but pleased smile. I appreciate the invite. He looked over the assembled crowd with knowing glances. I can help too. With as many people as you're feeding, that's gonna be a lot of food. Didn't you hear what we told Derek? It wouldn't be fair to make you cook when we're the ones who are inviting you in. Ma raised an eyebrow when Cliff waved it off. I insist! Derek would be missing time with his pals. This would be a break for me. I'm quite the chef. Ma and Mum exchanged further glances before Mum shrugged. An airtight argument. If you're sure, we'll be happy to have you, Chef Cliff. Cliff's grin widened and seemed more hyped than you'd expect him to be about helping with lunch. Cove shook his head, a fun smile on his face. Then all us grown people will be heading inside. I assume the rest of you kiddos are staying out? Maybe not all of them. Yeah, you. Ma tilted her head, a silent question for Elizabeth. Your sister thought for a moment. Aw, nice. I'll stay with the kids. That's great. Both your moms smiled at her, while Derek and Cove didn't seem to appreciate her phrasing. But with the plan decided, all three parents waved and headed for your house. It was just you teenagers now. Elizabeth looked at you and the others, a curious expression on her face. So, what now? You silently wondered if Elizabeth only stayed out with you to avoid getting roped into work. Probably. Then again, she could just genuinely want to hang out. You couldn't tell with your sister. Cove spoke up after no one else did to answer Elizabeth's question. Wanna go down to the shopping street? It's been a while, and I don't think there's a lot of other things we could agree on. Yeah, sure. Sounds awesome to me. Unlike you guys, I haven't been there in 1,001 times. It's new to me. So you're saying, sounds awesome to me, unlike you guys. You're fucking losers. Derek, you asshole. Bye. Yeah, let's do it. You strolled across the road as a group, down to the beach and then to the left. It took less than 15 minutes to arrive, one of the conveniences of Sunset Bad. The four of you looked around at the familiar shops, trying to see if anything caught your attention this time. Derek was the most enthusiastic. He checked out every stall with his eyes wide with wonder. Elizabeth and Cove were in good spirits as well. That's so cool! He ran over to a street magician who was currently doing a card trick for a group of enchanted tourists. Derek laughed when the magician showed a middle-aged man his card. Derek turned back to the group with a curious gleam on his face. What does it take to perform here anyway? Do you have to ask somebody, or do you just show up and start doing stuff? Who would you even ask? It's a public street. Hey, Miss Mare, can I pull a rabbit out of my hat? Please, Flopsy is well behaved, I promise. Derek chuckled, his eyes searching up and down the scene. Maybe there's a boss of the shopping street? No one does any of this around my neighborhood. It's just regular stores behind walls. It's different if someone wants a real store, but here I'm pretty sure people are just putting on their little shows whenever they want and do whatever. That's so neat. Would we be allowed to do something too? Cove laughed and Derek almost began vibrating with excitement. Elizabeth rolled her eyes. What would we do? Well, I don't know what. Not yet. I mean, I just found out it's a possibility, you know. But there's gotta be something. We know cool stuff. I'm sure we can think about it. We can plan a show that'd really get a crowd pumped. Yeah, we'll see what they're thinking. Derek continued to brainstorm out loud about different potential performances while you glanced over at Cove and Elizabeth. I mean, I can bounce a soccer ball on my head. Last time I tried, I got 8 bounces before it fell. I wouldn't bring a ball here. But why not? Cove gestured to everything around, the stalls, the people, or the colourful chaos that made up the shopping street. Would you want to chase the lost ball here? And what if it hits somebody? Even if you're good, someone else could bump into you. That's true. Derek thought about it some more. Then he watched another performer, a woman doing tricks with 2 small dogs. One was fluffy and cream-coloured, while the other was a cool grey. The woman held up rings. Both animals jumped through the openings, happy to receive a treat at the end. Derek brightened. Maybe I'll teach crabs how to race. Crabs? It could work. With some amusement, the gang continued to pursue the stalls. Elizabeth found some earrings with a dangly, badly misprinted globe that everyone laughed at. Cove picked out a blob as Iceland, but Derek thought it had to be Greenland. You know, this is a world with what looks like 9 continents. I think you're both wrong. No, it's I'm gonna stay out of it. It's Australia. No, I'm not gonna argue. Suddenly, Cove froze. You stared at him, and then tried to see what caught his attention. When you saw a familiar face down the way, it all made sense. I knew it! Jeremy! Here he is, of course, at last! Between the crowds, his bright hair stood out like a neon green bowl in a kitchen sink. It was Jeremy. Oh no, get ready to do that asshole voice. Jeremy slowly drifted his eyes down the street, and his eyes widened in mutual recognition. He definitely noticed you. Derek frowned and Cove sighed. Neither of them were happy to see him again. I'm gonna smile at him. Yeah. Hey asshole, guess what? I'm happy to see you. Take that. He just looked dismissive. Elizabeth raised an eyebrow. Her gaze swept over Jeremy without a hint of a clue. Jeremy simply scoffed to himself and waded deeper into the crowd of people. Derek relaxed and exhaled loudly. Is he gonna come back in the next act and be like the cool, like handsome villain or something? It's like he's had a glow up. Oh no, he's hot now. God, I hope not. Derek relaxed and exhaled loudly. I'm glad we're not gonna start anything. I'm glad he's not gonna start anything. He peeked over at Elizabeth with a tiny smirk. See, that was the mean kid. Huh? She still didn't get it. That first summer day hadn't made nearly as much of an impression on her as it did for Derek, but he smiled and waved it off. Just forget about him. I already have. He laughed and Cove smiled lightly. He seemed in a much better mood now that Jeremy was gone. Your eyes wandered over to where Jeremy disappeared. You hadn't forgotten the day you met him either. He was only going to be in town for a vacation with the parents he hated. That glimpse was probably the last time you would ever see him. Oh, that feels like foreshadowing. I'll mention it, sure. Jeremy's probably gone for good now. It's time for him to go back to wherever he's from. Was that an okay thing to say? Yeah, guess we don't have to worry about that guy anymore. Derek kicked at a little rock in the road. It clattered forward and then rolled under a stall. But I still think it's kind of sad Jeremy turned out to be, well, like he is. It would have been nice to make another friend. Yeah, it would have been. Cove shook his head. He was clearly not broken up over what might have been. Maybe he'll become nicer in the future. Elizabeth rolled her eyes at the strange farewell to the odd boy, not interested in the slightest. She clearly didn't understand his impact, and at this point she didn't want to understand. You couldn't help but wonder though, what would have happened if you would have interacted with Jeremy more? Jeremy was unlike anyone you had ever met before. What is going on? Why is there so much Jeremy talk? You thought he was horrible. You thought he was weird. You thought he was stupid. You thought he was kind of pitiful. You thought he was kind of okay. You didn't know what to think about him. I thought it was kind of sad. That he was just so angry and like has a bad relationship with his parents. That's sad. You and the group moved on from the stall and from Jeremy. It didn't take long for everyone to return to the joking. You all enjoyed what little time you had left as Elizabeth mentioned the hour was almost up. The little trip had flown by and lunch must have been waiting for you now. Derek bounced on the balls of his feet. Come on guys, let's get going so we can eat. I'm starving. I can't wait for you. Homebound, homebound, here we go. Cove stretched out one of his arms lazily and puts it around my shoulder. Okay. No, he has a nap standing up. Let's go then. You looked at him appraisingly. You asked Cove to carry you back to the house. Maybe you offered to carry Cove back to the house. I don't want him to carry me back. That feels weird. Then you followed Elizabeth as she took it upon herself to lead the way home. She walked fast, much faster than Derek preferred. She kept gaining a lead and then Derek would jog back up to the group. With Cove's long legs, he had no trouble keeping up. You moved to the front with Elizabeth. I'll walk with Cove. Yeah. You kept close to your neighbour. You both chatted about things you'd seen at the shopping street, with Derek chiming in every so often. You caught Cove smiling at you a couple times. He was happy you were spending time with him. It was a pleasant walk home, and in no time you'd made it back. Derek got the front door and held it open for everyone as you each moseyed inside. The three parents were still in the kitchen. They looked up and waved. Hello! Welcome back, everyone. You made it just in time. I hope you're hungry. So, did everyone have a nice time out? She gestured for people to take a seat at the table. Plates and silverware have already been placed out. You took your normal seat. Elizabeth sat across from you, and Derek took the seat to your left. Cove sat on your right. I read that as Cove sat on you. No! He blushed a little and began fidgeting with his silverware. His dad was the first to pick up on his extra awkwardness, but your mums weren't far behind. The parents shared looks at Cove's reaction, but it seemed that he was struggling with how to act normal around his dad, or your parents, or both, after what had happened between the two of you upstairs. Yeah, we had a great time. It was fine. Cove shrugged, not willing to say more than that. Yeah! Yeah, the bank heist went off without a hitch. Your jerk got some chocolate. Hang on, that was funny. I want more than chuckles, how dare you. That's good in my book. Casually, Mr. Holden sat in the empty seat across from Cove. He smiled at you and all the other kids. Mum set down a platter full of water glasses on the table. She looked down at the gathering. It's a good thing we have 8 chairs. I can't remember the last time we've had a group of this big over for a meal. Can you pass the drinks down to the other side and make sure you all get one? Sure. Those close to the cups obliged and started offering waters around. Hey, bud, how's it going? Hey, what, are you feeling awkward? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Hey? As you passed Cove his drink, your hands touched. Cove fro. You're just so awkward. You're so awkward. Everything freaks you out. It's hilarious. You had already let go, not realizing that he was too distracted to function in that moment. Uh-oh, there it goes. The glass fell down to the table, landing with the sharp clatter of glass on wood. Cove scooted his chair back with a restrained shout. I'm sorry, I'll just get a towel or something. He looked around in frantic panic, as if an object to soak up water would magically appear if he turned his head fast enough. His dad bit his lip in worry, rising from his own seat. He's so not pleased. Oh, what do you mean? Of course he's out of it. His mum just left. He started dating someone. It's a big day. Cove, what is going on? You've been a little out of it today. Did something happen? Cove tensed, frozen again. You dumbass. He stared at the water on the tabletop as if he wanted to sink into it. No, he needs to agree with when they find this stuff out as well. I'll cover for him. If something did happen, you should wait for Cove to want to talk about it. Trying to make him say things in front of everyone wouldn't be good. Hell yeah, me. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, let him speak about it in his own time. He's clearly not comfortable. Mr. Holden nodded slowly. He still seemed worried, but after another look at Cove, he smiled sympathetically. Well said, Patch. I'm here whenever you're ready, son. That's nice. Of course. They know. Look at those faces. They know. Cove breathed a sigh of relief and shot you an apologetic look. You shot him a covert thumbs up. Don't worry, I got it. I got you, bud. I got you. As everything got set up, Ma chided Elizabeth to take her elbows off the table. I think elbows on the table is fine, as long as you're not using it to cover your face while you're trying to talk to someone or aim a rifle. You're probably fine. And you shouldn't slouch. She pointed to Mr. Holden, who was leaning forward with both arms on the table. Oops. Mr. Holden seemed unsure about all the sudden attention, carefully rearranged his posture to something suitable for a fancy dinner. He smiled sheepishly at Ma. Elizabeth rolled her eyes and Ma gave a level look at her. You shouldn't be impolite to a guest in the house either. Elizabeth groaned, long and long-suffering. Ma giggled and Mr. Holden chuckled. A lot of you could learn a thing or two from Derek. He has the best manners here. Derek blushed, but it was true. His posture was upright and formal. He even held his fork gracefully. His table manners were on top of all his attempts to aid your parents, made him the model of meal attendee behavior. Oh, what a sweetie. He's so small. It's nothing. It's true, though. You have been a lovely guest. Oh, I've noticed that too. It's always nice when you stay over, Derek. Aw. Derek smiled and sat a little taller in his chair. And do you have anything good to say about our other guest? She looked deliberately at Cove with a teasing smirk. Or is there just nothing to say? Elizabeth, you dingus! Shut up! Well, Cove is my number one, but he does still clean his hands by wiping them on his pants. Yeah, that is embarrassing. Cove, Jeez Louise, buddy. Cove frowned at that and absentmindedly brushed his hands on his pant legs. Your mums laughed lightly. Elizabeth, you should know, after all these years, Cove is hardly a guest anymore. Cove smiled awkwardly. Thanks. Manners. I love Shmanis. It's one of my favorite podcasts. I listen to it all the time. Who cares? I don't think it's that big of a deal. You teased Cove for his bad habit. You complimented Derek on his politeness. You joked that Derek was basically an adult. You kept quiet and took... See, I personally really like etiquette and manners and stuff. Not that I hold myself to that all the time. I just think it's fun. But also, if you don't want to do it, that's fine. So I'm just gonna be quiet and eat my food. You do whatever. Hey? It's fine. The parents had made an excellent lunch. You took another bite and minded your business. Everyone ate their meal together and continued to hang out for the afternoon. After the food, you and the others played a couple games and talked about plans for the upcoming year. The time passed quickly, and soon it was time to part ways. Mr. Holden talked to your mums and Cove drifted over to you, knowing that as soon as his dad finished up, he would be leaving. It'd be cool to stay, but we have some stuff to do before everything closes today. Okay, is Elizabeth here too? Yeah, bye. Could you move? I need the phone. Okay, well, she's gone now. Cove raised an eyebrow and Elizabeth impatiently gestured behind him. Cove realized he was standing right in front of where the receiver was placed. He sidestepped out of the way and shook his head, clearly thinking Elizabeth was rushing too much. Your sister made a beeline for the phone and started dialing the number of what you figured was one of her friends. Knowing Elizabeth, she was going to be there for a while. You, Cove, and Derek shuffled closer to the door. It seemed like Mr. Holden was wrapping up his conversation, so everyone started saying their various farewells. See you later, Cove. We gotta do this again sometime. Yeah, see you. Cove turned to you and smiled slightly. Bye, Patch. You stepped forward and spread your arms wide. Cove only had a moment to react before you encircled him in your arms. Cove took a second to return the hug, surprised. He leaned into you and held on, then he hovered nearby with a small smile on his face when it ended. His cheeks were slightly red, especially when he looked over and noticed that Derek had watched the whole thing. Derek smiled amusedly. Derek knows! Everyone knows! It's so obvious. Just while we're still hugging. Hey, excuse me, can I get in there? Hey, pardon me. Seriously, dude, we'll have to hang out later. I'm gonna miss you during school. He punched Cove's arm softly. Cove still rubbed the spot afterwards. Cove and his dad left soon after that. Your parents started cleaning up the house and Elizabeth was still chatting to her friends on the phone. It was just you and Derek left. He elected to stay outside in the front of the house to wait for his dad to pick him up. You decided to keep your guest company, although he was originally Cove's visitor. A light summer breeze blew through your hair and Derek shifted his weight from foot to foot. Thanks for waiting with me. He kicked at the ground distractedly. Dad's still gonna be a while, so do you want to go for a walk? Sure, I don't mind. The two of you walked down the street again, just wandering without a destination planned. It was a quiet stroll, too quiet for Derek being the company. You turned to him when you had noticed that he wasn't saying a word. That was unusual. Derek always had something he could chat about. You weren't sure if you should ask about it. Somehow you ended up at the old park near the beach. You glanced over to Derek once more, still expecting him to say something any second now. However, nothing came from him. In fact, now you noticed a frown creeping on his face. Oh no, what is it? Derek smiled when he realized you were watching. At least his mouth was turned up. There wasn't anything that really felt happy in the expression. He turned away and the smile fell off his face. His eyes stared intently at the ground and you raised an eyebrow. If you want to talk about something, I'm here. Oh, I'm a little sad. It's just, with school starting back up again, it's gonna be harder to visit. I'm gonna have homework and clubs and practices and everything else. It really sucks we go to different schools. His face screwed up and his fists were closely tied, closed tightly together. This was really concerning for him. what if we don't have time? I think there's always optimism. We'll make time. We can talk over the phone and have plans for weekends. It'll be okay. Derek looked up at the sky. It was orange and purple with little wisps of clouds scattered around. A plane flew high with a jet stream trailing behind it. Then he turned to the ground again. Derek's face was tilted far enough down that it was harder to read his expression. Oh? Hey, Patch, I actually wanted to talk to you about something, if you don't mind. There was a pause and you waited for him to finish his thought. I was just kind of wondering, do you like guys at all? Like, would you ever want to be with someone who was a boy? Sorry if that's weird to ask. Oh, buddy. It's not weird to ask at all. But I could be with a guy. Oh no, this is the worst. Why? Okay, then he hesitated before finishing his question. So, what I mean is, is there any guy you think is kind of cool that you like around here? Not at school or anything like that. Oh, Derek, I'm sorry, bud. He ducked his head further. You already knew the answer. You'd confronted that very topic this afternoon. Oh, I'm sorry, bud, but he also needs to know the truth. You can't lead people on in this. That's just worse. Well, I like Cove. Okay, whew, that's a better reaction than I was expecting. Derek chuckled and didn't look surprised at all. Yeah, I kinda thought so. That's cool. I really hope things work out. Thanks for answering my random questions. He shot you a thumbs up. Oh no, it's the thumbs up of defeat. Yeah, of course, buddy. Thanks for handling that well. I hope we'll always be friends, no matter what. Even if we don't see each other for a long time, or if we get really busy, I still hope. He cut himself off and met your eyes. There was something serious to him, sincerely worried that you'd fall out of friendship. I hope so too. I want us to be friends forever. Derek smiled, mostly to himself. He seemed a little more like the usual. Then for sure, we have to make the most of next year. Then the year after that, and the year after that. He rambled on for a while about things. We'll just make the most of every year. Right. You smiled and felt like your friendship was still strong. Well, that's good. Could that have ended badly? You didn't spend much longer at the park after that. Derek didn't want to miss his dad, so you both made your way back to your street. After Derek went back home, you decided to settle in for the night. Stretching your arms over your head, you noticed that the living room and the phone were free. Oh, yeah, no, it's called Lee. I think that's nice. You picked up the receiver and quickly punched in the familiar number while going to take a seat on the couch. Soon enough, after explaining the situation to the housekeeper, Lee answered. They've got a housekeeper? Whoa, cool. Hey! Hi, Lee, can you talk? Definitely. We practically have to. My gosh, can you believe it's almost summer? It's almost time for school to start? What happened to our summer? School starts first thing tomorrow for me. Ew. I thought starting next week was bad enough. Enjoy your last week. Oh, I will. I hope you'll survive your first day. I'm looking forward to it. Then I have nothing to worry about. You'll have a better chance at surviving. And at least summer was nice while it lasted, right? We were busy. Yeah. Finally, you thought about all the best memories you made this summer. Lee was there for some, but there were still many you hadn't filled her in on yet. Yeah, we'll reminisce. You began to speak about the road trip, that one day with the big shopping trip, that time you went to Ko's house for dinner, that incredibly hot afternoon. Let's talk about the road trip. I went on a vacation. Ko's parents ended up inviting my whole family on an RV road trip. Whoa, that's awesome! It was a 3-day trip and we visited the Redwood National Forest. Lucky. Okay, that was a private moment though, I think. It was fun hanging out. Oh, wait, the park was amazing. The pictures I've seen of it are crazy. I can't believe you got to see it for real. It's even better than how it looks in pictures. Sounds like you had a good time. I'm happy for you. Let's move on and talk about her, I think. I don't want to hog it all. What was your highlight of the summer, Lee? Oh, that's so cute. Talking to you is always the best part of my summer. Even though it was a phone call, you just knew that Lee was winking at you. Good, I'm glad you picked the right answer. Come on, tell me. What? You don't believe me? Lee. Alright, okay. So a high point for me was when I took a trip with my parents to Europe. That was amazing! Oh my god, you took a whole trip to Europe and it didn't come up in conversation? You and Lee continued to go over your adventures until you were both yawning to each other over the phone. You knew... No, I think she'd want to know. And I feel like she's a close friend of mine, and I think that's okay to tell her. There was a pause of silence. Knowing your cousin, you decided to pull your ear away from the phone. As expected, a screech loud enough for you to still make out clearly from a distance crackled through the speaker. When you felt it was safe, you put the phone back against your head. Lee was still gushing to herself, though a little less loudly. Why didn't you say so sooner? He had to have liked you back, right? You two are the most perfect pair ever! Tell me, please. You used the precious little time you had left to try filling her in as best as you were capable in that moment. But soon the approach of curfew became too much for you to ignore, despite how excited the both of you were. At that, you decided it was time to say goodbye for now. You did have school to wake up for in the morning. Bye, Lee. Night, Patch. Talk to you later. You left the phone on the side table for now. Looking at the clock on the wall, you saw that there was only about 10 minutes until your mums would be insisting you had to go to bed so you could be rested enough for school. You stretched your legs on the couch and sighed in defeat, watching the minute hand change 1 minute closer to bedtime. You rearranged yourself, feeling restless, and looked out the window. Startled initially, you spotted a figure out in the hills. Of course. When the surprise faded, you realized it really wasn't that much of a shock at all. It was exactly something Cove would do. Maybe if I can get his attention and get him to come up and meet me in my room. Grinning, you sneakily crept over to the window. When you were right in front of the glass, you slapped both your hands hard against it. Cove's body visibly jumped where he stood, and his head whipped around, trying to find the source of the noise. When he noticed the clattering in the window behind him, a window from your house, he tried to shake his head in disapproval, but even from that distance you knew he was smiling. Amused with your own antics, you waved at Cove. You ran off to go see him, then you went out. I'll go outside to talk to him. Strolling casually, you went over to the front door. When you arrived, you noticed how many fireflies were out that night. They drifted along lazily, barely minding your presence as you waded through to reach the top of the hill. Hey buddy, how's it going? Cove turned towards you as you approached, and you noticed right away that Cove was still a little sour about the scare. Sorry, that's not what I meant. Hi. You grinned in response to Cove's look, and he shook his head in defeat. Sighing dramatically, he seemed to finally let it go. Hey, what are you doing out here? Nothing really. He shrugged, seeming unhappy with his own answer. You stared at him, waiting for him to continue. Well, I guess I was feeling kind of weird about stuff, so I'm getting some fresh air before bed. I know how you feel. It's hard to stay still. Tomorrow's going to be the start of a new year. At the mention of school, a small noise escaped him. Cove let himself fall back onto his butt and then all the way down, so he was laying on his back. He looked up at the sky. No, I can't do that. I'll lay down as well. You lowered yourself to lay back on the hill. He had been lost in thought or was possibly waiting for you to situate yourself, but he started speaking unprompted again. Oh, thanks for telling me about my dad and the money he offered you to be my friend. This is probably the last thing you're expecting out of him. Cove seemed to pick up on that and stretch his arms out wide in front of him. This is where we met, remember? It happened that day. You could recall the sad little boy with a pink cast who you found in this very spot. It felt like a lifetime ago. I kind of have a strange feeling, looking at you. Not in a bad way, just thinking about you then and really seeing you now. It's something. He turned his face away from you. You got the impression he was trying to hide a blush. It was almost unbelievable how much of an impact he had made on your life just by moving in next door. You couldn't even imagine what your days might have looked like in a world where you hadn't met him. Cove glanced back at you, waiting for a response, and you had no idea what to say. Then, still without a word from you, Cove shook his head strongly. What? It's you. Huh? He snickered before answering. He looked thoroughly amused with your reaction. That's what you do all the time. So I'm being you. Wait, what? What do I do all the time? I shake my head, do I? You do that all the time too. Do I? Yeah. Cove couldn't help but grin at that. Honestly, there weren't many people you could think of who could tease you about something like that. Returning his smile, you realized there was no denying that you two have been around each other for a long time. Cove broke the quiet before it could fully settle. Hey, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, see you then. With a final wave, Cove headed for home, but you stayed there a few minutes longer. Your mind kept going back to his simple statement. See you tomorrow. No matter how much he was changing around you, there were some things in your life that always seemed to remain true. The hills felt warm to you that night. Before you knew it, you were getting comfortable under the covers in your room. Your mind couldn't help but still be buzzing with the thoughts about the future. It was hard not to think about Cove. There hadn't been enough time to really figure it all out after what happened between you. You felt excited. There was a little doubt in your mind that things were moving forward, and you couldn't wait to find out what changes were waiting for you on the horizon. Slowly, your eyes grew heavy as you drifted off to sleep, your mind spinning with wishful thoughts. No matter what happened next, you could only hope that you would make the most of it. You were ensnared in a dream when a noise from the outside world jostled you. Oh! The light clatter continued. Now that you were more alert, you could distinguish it as a tapping sound, quiet, slow, but persistent. Is Cove at my window again? Each beat was like being poked. You couldn't ignore it. You lifted your head from the pillow and looked for the source. Not much work was needed to puzzle it out. It was from the window. With that, you knew exactly what it was. From the colour of the light filtering into your room, it was too early for anyone to be awake, including the sun. It had barely hauled itself over the horizon, but that didn't stop some people, it seemed. You sat up in bed and opened the window. Cool air, not yet warmed by the day, tickled your face as it pushed into your room. And just as you'd expected, there was your neighbour crouching on your windowsill. He was fully dressed, though not for school. Oh! He was wearing a wetsuit and a shy smile. Hi, Patch. You stared back, blinking. So technically I won't be back to school for a few more hours. His voice was delicate yet deliberate, each word a careful explanation. Classes haven't actually started yet, so do you want to hit the beach with me one more time this summer? I really want to say you're so cute, but yeah. His smile widened affectionately. You rushed to get changed into something suitable while Cove climbed back down to ground level. Your limbs, still half asleep, struggled somewhat as you attempted to coordinate them into a swimsuit, but you got there in the end. Soon you were tiptoeing out of your front door, clutching a towel. Cove was already there to greet you. Your eyes met. Cove's gaze darted to your destination, back to you. You checked the door was closed, gave him a thumbs up, and the two of you leapt into action. Wordlessly, you began to run down the familiar path ahead, Cove beside you. The thrill of your illicit outing made you want to laugh. Not that you dared. If anyone in your family looked out and saw you, then your summer would be back to being over. One glance at Cove told you that he was exactly the same, holding back snickers for fear of being heard and caught. The towel streamed out from under your arm like a cape. You were running so fast downhill that simply keeping your balance and not tumbling down was a real threat. It just wasn't enough of one to make you slow your pace. For every step you took, the beach was a little closer and the day a little brighter. What lay ahead for you would arrive, and you were happy to meet it. Oh. In between. Oh my goodness. I think I'm gonna keep myself the same way. And now I guess we're gonna be moving on and picking what Cove is gonna look like. Oh, I think... Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna go with. But I'm actually gonna leave it there. I'm so sorry. I'm really keen to see what he looks like next time, but I kind of want to save it for when we're moving into the whole next episode. And that went so much longer than I was expecting it to. But thank you so much for hanging out with me. And I mean, next episode we're going to be moving on properly, actually moving on to the final chapter, to Act 3. Oh, that was beautiful. I cannot wait. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, everyone. I hope you've had fun, because I certainly have. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.